you all have missed out on some really fun stuff here. Sorry for the delay, but we have had some contention happening here on the show, per usual. I'm Bobby. This is episode 355. Joining me for day 2 of deliberations of casual categories, Chase Kennedy and Johnny Amizich.
Hello.
We have gone through a lot of video games thus far. If you have not listened to day 1, please go back and do so. We broke down 10 categories and had a lot of fun doing that. And tonight might just be as fun, or could be a hell of a lot less fun.
No fun will be.
No fun is probably where we're
just bickering and
doing a good job of that. We're going to get through a lot tonight. We hope that you enjoy what we have to talk about. We're going to be looking at things like technically terrible, best moment in sequence, best debut, I wish I liked it more, overachiever of the year. We're going to talk about some VR stuff. We're going to break down touchy-feely of the year, and we're going to show off a handful of screenshots for you all before we round it up with best early access and our most anticipated games of 2024. So, if you haven't, what?
I have a really quick suggestion.
Yeah.
Maybe we should change our name from the Casual Hour to Bickering and Semantics Hour.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we want to be accurate with the bitching and semantics, multiple hours.
Yeah.
Fair. Sorry. Proceed.
Yeah. Speaking of terrible things, we are going to be breaking down some technically terrible video games. This is a new category for us. 2-3 years ago, Johnny and I decided to jump over to PCs, and before that, I mean, that's honestly how we got the name the Casual Hour. We didn't really experience ports all that much. I mean, certainly there were some broken games that came out on console, but I think this year, more than any, we've seen a lot of things come hot and heavy at a launch and in a state, and it was not fun. It really was a bad year when it came to some of these broken video games and some downright just poor decision making. And we want to highlight that tonight in this new category and get into some technicalities of why a game was terrible. We have a whole category about not liking something or wanting to like something more. There is a bit more of a rigidness to this. And talking through some of the busted shit.
I play games on the Switch, so every game I play is technically
can't be broken if it's broken when it arrives. The Switch is where all the broken games go to live. That's what happens. This is just how things work. We have a handful to get through tonight to discuss. The first one on here is City Skyline 2. We have the gem Crime Boss Rocket City, Forspoken, Jedi Survivor, Payday 3, Redfall, Skull Island Rise of Kong, Starfield, The Day Before, The Last of Us Part 1 PC, The Lord of the Rings Gollum, The Walking Dead Destinies, and Wild Hearts.
So I've got a question to kind of kick us off here. What is our criteria here? Is it the game that was most busted on launch? Is it the game that's still the most busted to this day? Is it a game that isn't even available for sale today?
You know, I kind of feel like until a week ago, this would have been a more, I don't know.
Have we played every game
competitive category?
No.
Did anyone play The Day Before?
No, I didn't have I was working the 4 hours it was a video game.
Fair enough. Is this a category where we feel like we should have experienced how bad it was before?
No, I think a lot of these on the fringe, we could say, yeah, that looked terrible. Some of these I did beat completely. Suffice it to say, I did not enjoy my time with it, and I'll just call it out. Like Jedi Survivor, for me personally, was probably the most frustrating technical experience I've had in some time. That game, I have a very competent PC, and that game crashed to desktop. I could not play it at all, and it was a pain in the ass to get through. But I thought the game was so good that outside of those problems, I was willing to go through it. And it's the reason I can't put that game on my personal top 10 list. It was on there for a long time, but the state it came in was so unacceptable and so terrible that
real hot.
I will refuse to put it on my top 10, even though it would be if this game would have came in, it would have been on there easily. And I think that's a pretty big thing for me.
Have they since gotten into a state where
it's good now? So
even while I was playing it, it got patched and performance vastly improved.
Yeah,
but I was also playing on PS5, and I think PC was in a worse state for longer than consoles were. If this category was called actually terrible, I think Starfield would take it.
Yeah.
I hear that game's a 7. So
it's true.
There's nothing.
But
there's nothing terrible
I think,
about a 7.
I don't know. Like we could have called this like the studio the most JPEGs on Twitter from a studio apologizing award or something like that too.
Wild Hearts.
You couldn't play it.
I literally could not play it. The scripting broke during one of the monster fights, and I think Bobby, didn't we try like
there was an audio thing? You had to like turn an audio thing off to get the game to even function for you.
Yep, it was real busted, which was a shame because there was a fun loop in there.
That studio's shut down now because of that game's done because of this. Forspoken, I don't know. Like I didn't play it, but also I feel like the demo was rough, dude.
Yeah, it was. That's right. I did play the demo, and it was
rough,
real stanky. I mean, the standout here to me is Skull Island, Gollum, and The Day Before. That seems like the trifecta.
I think that
we tried to play and were unable to.
Matchmaking didn't work.
Yeah, the servers were just completely for a online only game. We were unable to sign in. I think for multiple days, people were unable to play that game after launch.
Can we address like the elephant in the room really quick?
Sure.
The Day Before.
I'm sitting right here.
I feel like there's something far more sinister with this thing than just being a technically broken game.
Yeah,
and I feel like calling it a technically terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I think with assets that are available, it seemed kind of shoddy the whole time.
The game fucking it was terrible when it launched, but I feel that would be giving them off the hook.
Pre-orders exactly, but they certainly took money when it was available.
Yeah, and they were not refunding people. They say shit happens.
Yeah, I mean,
and they just changed their name.
Yeah,
it's bad. So
they've shipped games before though. I don't know any of their games.
They changed their names so that people wouldn't go review bomb.
Yeah,
their previously published works.
I think this one hands down wins the category.
Oh yeah,
but when it comes to our Game of the Year awards, I guess personally I feel like it should be something that wronged us more specifically. But I mean, whatever you guys think on this one, I know it sounds like Jedi really hurt Bobby in a very profound way. Yeah. The man who loves Star Wars with his whole heart. And that's, got to tell you, a very large heart.
It's a large heart. It's not a wild heart. It's a large one.
I mean, knowing that it is not going to end up on your list.
Dude, I can't justify it. It's like vote with your feet, you know?
Yeah.
But also, of all these games, that's probably one that plays the best today.
Yeah,
can you say
it does.
Like it launched in a bad state,
so that one also feels a little weird to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. How are you guys feeling in this category?
I think it goes to The Day Before for a lot of reasons.
Let's do that thing. I've said what I need to say about Jedi on record. Y'all know where I'm at.
Yeah,
you know why it won't be my top 10. It's fixed now.
With The Last of Us?
It was a bad port.
It looked like if the Skull Island stuff, Joel looked like King Kong from Skull Island, and a lot of it.
You think they just? I mean, since they just put the same game out again, you think it wouldn't be hard to make it better?
They had this was outsourced. I'm pretty sure by Naughty Dog to another team, and so
so like Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Let's give it to the Day Before.
And Redfall was a real piece of shit, wasn't it?
It was.
Redfall sucked.
I had a real bad time when we played that.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine giving it to the day before.
Right.
Yeah.
They,
Fuck the day
they
before.
quote
Cross
unquote
out everything
deserve
else
it.
here.
Yeah, they sure do. Man, to
Starfield,
go from
I mean, that I still might. Play Starfield, so.
no, you don't.
I might. I don't think I'll enjoy it. But
I won't even put that on. I wish I liked it more because I don't. I didn't want to like it, and I don't like it. And
yeah, going back, I really should have just said that instead of Baldur's Gate 3 for my backlog game.
Nope.
It's like I really want to get to Starfield next year.
Congratulations to the day before. Go fuck yourself.
Congratulations.
We're all Bethesda haters here now, Chase.
Thank you.
One of
I'm
us.
glad to be a trendsetter.
All right. Another one that we certainly won't argue about is best moment or sequence.
Can I read this one off?
You certainly can. Why don't you set up the fine folks out there on what the hell this is?
So best moment or sequence. This is the best bit of a game. Could be a cutscene. It could be a level. Could be some amazing set piece. Generally, we're looking for a moment that would be experienced by the average player. Less anecdotal. Here's a crazy thing I did with my build, but we are willing to hear arguments. And the list is Alan Wake 2, Herald of Darkness, which if you watch the Game Awards, you may have seen that before.
Sorry to cut you off. This is your spoiler warning. For the people who care about this, like we're reading these off. We have a list here on the screen. So if like, don't look at the screen, stop looking at the screen. But if you're worried about spoilers,
covering your own camera.
For a lot of these games, this is definitely
thank
the
you,
time
Chase. This is
to duck out.
Get the fuck out of Dodge.
I don't generally care about spoilers, but I know some people are really worried about them.
Yeah.
This is the time. We're going to talk about everything. There are a handful of, not a handful, most of these games I haven't played. We're going to have to explain the context of these moments and why they were cool. This is your opportunity to get the fuck out.
Yep. Thank you.
Continue, Johnny.
All right. Alan Wake 2, Herald of Darkness. Alan Wake 2, The Summoning Ritual. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Scaling the Strider. Baldur's Gate 3, redacted moments I should have been able to talk about, but instead I got to hear about over 200 hours spent in Destiny and Street Fighter. That's weird. I don't remember that moment. Maybe I haven't gotten there yet. I'm only an actor.
A little on the nose, a little accurate.
Chance of Sonar, The Final Chase. Cocoon, The Solar System. Cocoon, shooting a laser through multiple worlds. Dave the Diver, upgrading anything with Duff. Diablo 4, Call Her Home. Everspace 2, bobbing your head to the hyperspace travel song. Fire Emblem Engage, knocking an arrow or knife out of the air with your weapon. Hi-Fi Rush, Roquefort's Reveal, Pineapple on Pizza, the whole thing. Sea of Stars, using Moonerang for the first time. Spider-Man 2, Becoming Venom. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Flying with Marin. Starfield, uninstalling Starfield. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Becoming an Elephant. These next four are from Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We have Entering the Depths, Fighting Motherfucking Dragendorf, Getting to the Wind Temple, and Launching Yourself Out of Your First Tower. From Vimba, we have Launching, is it Patu?
I believe that is what it is.
Viewfinder, Creating a Paradox, and Viewfinder, Using the Camera. Those are the nominees.
I do want to make a point that despite the editorializing in there, I told Bobby multiple times he should put the Baldur's Gate moments he thinks should be on here. He's choosing to redact them.
Yep, I'm not going to talk about the moments in Baldur's Gate 3 for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to spoil things because the game is that pure and that good. Two, I also understand in the spirit of recognizing what this is about, Baldur's Gate 3 was a game I puppeted into becoming something I wanted it to be. And while these experiences might have happened within some beats that I think we can all be like, oh, Chase, when you get to this part, we need to talk. But because I made it about me in this game and my story, it's a very personal thing.
Right. So it's more like, hey, what happened when you got here? Because
yes,
like we have a clip. It wasn't one of our clips of the year, but there is a clip. I think we even referenced it last time that I watched and thought was very funny. Bobby was like some druid kind of character where you changed yourself into a bear, and then you did like a big belly flop from a really tall rock onto an enemy.
It was quite good.
And it's extremely cool, but kind of like what we said, that's a very, hey, this is a cool thing I did with my build, and you had to be in a very specific spot, and not everybody's going to have that experience when they play Baldur's Gate 3. So I get that, but sounds like a cool game. Sounds
I will
like
shame
a game
both of
somebody
you.
might put on a backlog for his next year's game.
Yeah.
We should have been able to talk about it this year because it's so special.
That's your fault because you forced me to buy a collector's edition that doesn't even come out this year. It's really Bobby's fault that we can't talk about it.
For the games that have multiple things here, do we want to try and whittle those down? Before
that's always a good place.
Get rid of the summoning ritual. You know that shouldn't be up against Herald of Darkness.
I know.
Get rid of it.
That it was really cool.
I don't know what's happening.
It was really fucking cool.
It was cool, but get rid of it.
Is that what was referenced at the Game Awards?
It was.
Wow. Okay, I was a guess. That was a total guess.
Yeah.
I said that, Chase. I said you may have seen this. Tell me about those moments.
Yeah, I can tell you about shooting through a laser through multiple worlds because that's the one I put up there. So in the game, you have these, like, the general thing about Cocoon is that you have these orbs that you're carrying around.
I played it for an hour, so
for the audience as well. I mean, this is an audio podcast. Somebody wants to know about Cocoon. You can put them on specific plates, and then you can go into those orbs, and inside the orb is its own world. And there is some recursion stuff that can happen where you can put multiple orbs inside an orb and then inside those orbs. And at one sequence, I would say this is probably about halfway into the game, one orb that you get, the last one you get, is can shoot lasers when it's on a specific thing. And there's a couple puzzles where you have to shoot a laser in a specific spot to get it to hit a thing so it opens a door for you. Whatever, that's fine. And then there's a spot where you have to shoot the laser into one of the orbs, and then you go into that world and you have to manipulate something to let the laser come into that orb and then hit something specific. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting thing. But the one that started to break my brain in ways that I really liked was there was a sequence where you had to set up a bunch of worlds in a row. Mm-hmm. And it shot a laser, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I was thinking about like a different part of the puzzle and going like, oh, well, yeah, I'll shoot this laser. It goes into the world, and then, we'll figure out what I have to do in that world. And then it kind of clicked of, wait a minute. I have it set up in a line. So it's going to go into this orb, and then it's going to go into the orb that's in the other orb. And then it's going to go into the world of that other orb. And you just get these layers where I went, oh, fuck, this game is so smart. Mm-hmm. and it was just super cool to me. I had such a great time. There are some other amazing moments of Cocoon, but like from just a mechanical standpoint, that was certainly my favorite. Now, Bobby, did you put Solar System on here?
I did.
What exactly is that moment? So just to help me out here.
That's the end of the game.
Okay, gotcha.
So at the end of the game, and this is a big spoiler, but these orbs that you're carrying are fucking planets. And so you get to the end and all these planets begin to go into orbit, and you've become this fucking kaiju ginormous creature, guardian of the universe, watching this solar system. And it's such a fucking awesome moment. Okay. And how it zooms out and just kind of reveals you growing into this like ominous fucking creature. It's so goddamn cool. Like, it is a moment for the crescendo to a very somber video game. It was done beautifully. But Chase's point, I would say that's a very cool thing to see in the game.
And it's a tough call because the one that Bobby is stumping for is a really awesome story moment in that game. Mm-hmm. And the one I like is a really mechanical part of that game. Like a really, can't remember the word I'm looking for, but like,
I would go with Chase's. I've got a bigger dog in this fight. Okay. And Chase's is awesome. Yeah.
Cocoon, awesome game. People should play Cocoon.
Yes. So I think the only other one, let's do Viewfinder really quick. So I put using a camera because I think that was such a fucking beautiful moment for me to be like, I can do anything I want pretty much with this mechanic.
It opens the play space to like, oh, this is kind of like a Portal game, to, oh, this is really like a Portal game but in a different way, and holy shit, like,
it's just like the best cool fucking reveal. Like it's such a reveal in this game.
It just makes you think about the game in an entirely different way.
As soon as it happens, it's like, oh, I'm playing this.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the one we're going to end up keeping, because the Paradox one is honestly kind of a little bit underneath what Bobby's talking about, because the making a Paradox, the basic premise of Viewfinder is you have to go through these more or less rooms. They're much more open. They don't feel like rooms exactly, but they're basically like portal rooms, and you have to get batteries to sit on a plate, and then that opens up a portal so you can go to the next room. What happens though is when you have the camera, you can take a photo of something and then you can slap that photo onto the world, and it changes the geometry of the world behind the photo that you took. And so something that you can do accidentally, as the case may be with me, is you can just clip out the plate. Like, oh, I accidentally put a photo all over the plate, and the world just kind of goes like, oh god, what'd you do? Where it's like, this level's unsolvable because you're a fucking idiot. You destroyed the part of the world you needed to get to the next level, and the game has like a rewind function where you can just
it's a very good one,
zip right back to it. Yeah, very analog rewind function that is quite cool. But you can always undo your mistakes. But there was just that moment of like, oh, I just completely fucked this up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, and they accounted for that too. And I thought that was neat. But like the more general, how fucking cool is this camera? I think makes more sense for the moment overall.
Agreed. All right, so we're gonna keep the camera
for the real
on.
fight.
The Zelda one. So as Johnny said, we had Entering the Depths, fighting motherfucking Dragondorf, getting to the Wind Temple, and launching out of your first tower.
I didn't fight Dragondorf. I don't know what that. I mean, I know what that is, but I also don't know what that is. That one would need to be explained to me. Which is fine. I'm happy to have.
Yeah, this is again spoilers, but when you're fighting Ganondorf, you get to a point where he has basically 2 health bars per usual, but then the fight escalates in such a badass way. So there's this thing called a spirit stone in the game. It's what connects to basically the sages that gives them their abilities. And if the legend is, if you eat this, you become an immortal dragon. And so if you just wear it, you get these things and you get your ability. But he's in this fight and fucking he's getting his ass stomped, and he just fucking grabs
a moment of desperation. He's like,
eats this fucking stone.
He eats the Dragon Balls.
And he becomes this huge fucking dragon, massive fucking dragon, that you end up going up above Hyrule Castle on the back of another dragon who is fucking Princess Zelda. And that's how they brought the broken Master Sword back to where it's at, because she took it back in time and ate the stone and fucking impaled herself with the Master Sword. And so when you find the sword in the game, you have to land on the back of a dragon and pull the sword out of its head, and not knowing it's Zelda. But that was Princess Zelda the whole fucking time, and she's been this immortal dragon. Even back in fucking Breath of the Wild, these dragons were already there in time. And so you're on the back of her as a dragon, flying upwards, holding the Master Sword, going toe-to-toe with Ganondorf as an immortal dragon, and it's fucking awesome.
It's a really cool fight.
It's so good. It's so good.
As somebody who only got to the 3rd temple, or only beat 3 temples of Tears of the Kingdom, that sounds fucking wild.
It was.
It's awesome. Crazy, man. It's crazy.
I should probably go back.
Especially like,
that's a really good game.
Not to harp on the Switch, but it's able to have these moments despite being restrained by the hardware, and I think that makes it all the more impressive.
It has those moments because of the restraint of
the
hardware.
Yes.
I will say, I'm fine getting rid of fighting Dragondorf, even though it was insanely cool. I think that there's some things that we've all bonded on pretty heavily.
I think you'd really like anime. If these are moments you think are cool, have I got some anime to show you?
It was really fucking cool. But I would say I love getting to the Wind Temple. To me, if we're talking about things that represent us and that we fucking texted each other and talked about on the show at length, it's going into the depths for the first time or getting launched out of a cannon.
Yeah. I
think it's down
to
those two.
I was just reading that list, and when I got to looking at it, like that was such a fucking cool moment. And
yeah.
So let me quickly give my little elegy to the getting to the Wind Temple, because that's
you don't have to sell me on that one. It was fucking awesome.
So good. It's so good.
It's just like a bunch of blocks in the sky, and you've had to like find a way to fly up to this area, and it's windy and it's scary because if you fall, you're gonna fall a long fucking way.
Yeah.
And at that point you have like your wind powers from Windman. I forgot his name.
Windman.
Windman, yes. Kojima's
also
Windman.
Mega Man boss.
Windbird.
This
Birdie
is Zelda
Wind.
Windman. He needs a package delivered, Norman Reedus.
Birdie Wing. That's a golf anime. Anyway, you have his power, so you can do some better hovering and flight stuff. And it's just this extremely long dungeon before the dungeon where you're just like making little progress. And because it's all out in the open, it's just these blocks living in the air, you can see where you're going to go. And it's just this very long buildup of, man, I think I'm almost there. And you're really like trudging up to the top of the
and the music,
quote unquote, peak in this way. The music is fantastic. You're bouncing off of stuff. You have ships that are kind of flying around that you're bouncing off.
It's
of
like being inside of a tornado almost, right?
Yeah. It's really, really cool. And eventually you do get up in that tornado when you actually get to the Wind Temple and fight the boss, the boss fight I think is also, despite being kind of a pain in the ass, it's just very cool.
It's
to be fucking
very fucking awesome.
That boss fight. It doesn't feel like a Zelda boss fight because it is so mechanically different from.
I think it's probably one of the best Zelda boss fights of all time. Period. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, I died to it a lot because some of the mechanics I found to be a little bit bullshit. But for the most part, I was like, holy shit, this is so cool.
Yes.
So I really had this kind of profound climbing the mountain moment with that I really enjoyed, and it made me think about Journey, which you know, Zelda is not like Journey. I mean, it's got some moments like that, but this idea, especially at the end of Journey, when you were just making that slow climb to the very peak, and it just feels very, you feel determined, like, man, I really accomplished something when you get to the top of that. But for Zelda, it's like, yeah, you made it to the top. Okay, do the dungeon now. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. There's a fucking dungeon. Yeah. You feel like you should have just given me the item at the very end.
Yeah, God, it was so good.
This was the dungeon.
It's like one of those trials. You get to the end, it's like, hey, good job. Here's your reward.
Right. So I had a fantastic time. That was the first dungeon I went to, and so it made me feel really, really excited about where that game was going to go, and it was just a big moment for me. But I agree. The other two are probably a little bit more representative of Tears of the Kingdom as a game, and so I'm fine with either of them, which are both great.
I gotta say that the tower is fucking incredible. It really is something just of beauty, but I had no idea the depths were the depths.
Yeah. Oh, when it dawns on you that, hey, this is as big as the entire.
But you're going down in that fucking that plays like when you get to that certain point and you land, and it's like, wait a second.
And one generally begets the other. Like, you go up into that tower and you fly up, and there's usually like the first tower that you're at, there's one space where it's like, what's that dark spot on the ground?
Yeah.
And then you kind of glide over there, and then for me, it's like I just kept going down, and like you said, the music changes. You go, what the fuck's happening here? and you get to the bottom, and that is, I mean, that goes back to the marketing of the game, where you had Breath of the Wild. Look at huge Hyrule here. Hyrule, so fucking big. And then Tears of the Kingdom is like, yeah, you know, Hyrule's fucking big. You know what else is big? The sky. We made like a whole world in the sky for you. And so you go in thinking, wow, they doubled the size of Hyrule. Isn't that crazy? Yep. And then they said, hey, come here. What if we tripled it, you motherfucker? And you go, what?
What if they make the sky not even feel relevant?
It's such a cool. It is the moment of Tears of the Kingdom, in that everyone is going to experience this and figure out like, oh, holy shit, look at what they did, and it's fantastic. I don't mind
how
Yeah.
much
Love the
more
Zelda ones,
sprawling
give
it
me
is.
that.
Oh man, and finding like there's so many little hidden areas where I would find like armor and stuff. Like I was almost always rewarded for seeing, like, for trying to push myself a little bit further, make it a little bit deeper down in there,
Yeah.
find that next candle, and then realizing, oh, all these routes are where the shrines are on the map up above. And it's so
different barriers to different places. Like, oh, okay, I have to actually go over here in the overworld to get to the underworld.
Yeah.
And when you get to like the fire temple, like that is in the depths, and to go and find that is an ordeal on its own. It's like a totally different kind of game. It's almost like it's kind of like three different games. It's the Zelda you know and love on this layer. It is like a new weird fly Zelda up here. Isn't that kind of cool? And then the depths turns into this weird survival kind of game.
I just immediately thought about Low Rule. Immediately.
Sure. Yeah. It's waiting for the bunny guy.
Yep. So for me, I think it's like going out of the tower is fucking incredible, but I think it's the depths for me.
Yeah, I agree.
On those.
Honestly, the rest of these moments are going to have to be real fucking good to be going into the depths the first time.
I mean, there's a few that we want to like call out to say like something cool about. I'm down for that, but for me, it's between Herald of Darkness and Entering the Depths, and I would probably side with the depths more. But
I mean, this is a time for us to talk about some of these things.
Yeah.
We want to talk.
Can I break down what Herald of Darkness is? I mean,
hang on. Let's cut some shit first. Like, let's get down, because I kind of want to give these moments their flowers, understanding that we don't want this podcast to go on for fucking ever, and it's
I think
to do that.
I'll shout out the Jedi Survivor one really quickly. It's
very good.
It's an incredible action set piece where you're fighting this giant mechanical thing being controlled by the Empire, and Marin, your companion, basically uses her force powers in conjunction with your force powers to basically fly you and wall run and slide and jump and like do all of this crazy. It felt like something from Uncharted is the best way I can think to describe it. It was just this incredibly well produced action set piece that was so much fun. So much fun that I watched the whole sequence again today. And I think it's just worth mentioning, but we can cut it because it's not my favorite thing on here.
Okay.
Pineapple on Pizza is an amazing game. It takes you 10 minutes max, if not 5. The whole thing is cool, and kind of in a similar vein to Bobby, because it's so fucking short. Just play the thing. It's really cool.
Yep. It's free.
It's not gonna beat anything here, but it's a cool thing. Go play Pineapple on Pizza. Like Johnny said, it's free. Do it.
I'm gonna get rid of Diablo. Call Her Home was it's the opening cinematic where you meet Lilith and she comes out and there's these curtains behind her, and as it zooms out, you realize that all the curtains are just her skin being held up and pulled back behind her.
Hot.
It's very hot. And she starts to walk forward and it like pulls the curtain skin up. And it's this whole ritual called Call Her Home. It was very cool, but it can go.
Did they put that into the Call of Duty skin?
No, it was too big.
Too much skin. You had to do it over multiple skins. I'll cut Fire Emblem as well. I just think that's a really fun little mechanical moment that's there. Barely even a mechanical moment. It's just sometimes enemies will shoot you with arrows, or they'll throw knives at you. And in this one, they've added a little animation that if you are going to miss, like in Fire Emblem, something can miss if it's a lower enough chance. But instead of just avoiding the thing like you'd see in an animation for another Fire Emblem kind of game, in this one they'll just knock it out of the fucking air with their weapon, and it was really cool when I noticed that. I was like, oh shit, that's a really cool little animation. That's neat. So I thought it was very cool. It's such a small moment in the grand scheme of things. It does not matter, but I enjoyed it immensely. As an animation that I had to see many times during that game, it was one I never got tired of.
I'm going to cut Spider-Man 2 becoming Venom. Being Venom rules always, and the payoff there in that game is very, very short and good.
Johnny, how did it feel to uninstall Starfield?
Felt so good. Came home from the Grand Canyon. I was sick. I was so sick with sinus infection and ear infection. And I sat down on my computer and I was like, wait, I don't want to play this anymore. Because I had been playing it while I was on vacation because I brought my son's Xbox with me. And the more I played it, the more I realized, like, I don't know if this is any fun.
Is it possible that Starfield got you sick?
Yes.
You know,
okay,
it's very possible. Either that or the dry desert air and my
Mm,
allergies. But
maybe
I'm going to
both.
say Starfield. Yeah, that was obviously a joke. But
Fair.
So
I
was
did.
Starfield.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I'm good to get rid of Hi-Fi Rush, Roquefort's reveal. It's really cool. All the bosses are very well done in Hi-Fi Rush, and Roquefort is a werewolf that turns into a robotic werewolf.
Okay.
So it's this giant, very kick-ass fight with him in that state, and it's done like the music, of course, is very good. But visually it is just a feast to get through, and it's probably my favorite fight in the game. And holy shit, Chase, it, I will tell you, I don't know a lot, but it's very anime when you get to that part, and I think it's
Hi-Fi
one
Rush is anime all over.
Yeah, I think you would you should look up that fight at least to see what that's about.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
might
good.
do that. And I know that game has like some accessibility options to make it easier to just get through the rhythm stuff. And I liked the bit of rhythm stuff that I played. I'm just usually garbage at that stuff to the point of it's hard to get excited about going back into Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, I think watching something like that on YouTube just see the moment would be something.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna cut Chance as well.
Okay.
Chance is cool. There's a lot of cool moments in Chance. That final chase is kind of a fake out at one point, and it's you just go through a lot of that game where you go like, oh yeah, there's a lot of really cool shit in this game, and that final chase kind of puts a lot of it together.
I think I'm good to get rid of Armored Core 6. It's really neat because you start that level and there's a giant fucking thing that's mountainous in the back.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting closer, and then you're like, oh, you're going up on that. And I thought that was neat.
If you're me, you fall down it at least 3 times.
Yeah. It actually felt a lot, and this is coming from the guy who absolutely played a ton of Elden Ring. Johnny, there's an Elden Ring boss fight where you're kind of like running through like a deserty area as this guy is shooting fucking beams at you the whole time, right? Before you get up and fuck him up. So this was very much like that moment where they've got this big giant laser on this strider as you're going to it, and you have to zip out of the way and avoid these huge laser blasts. It's a great moment. There's a lot of really cool moments in Armored Core 6. But yeah, I think it doesn't hang with our big two here.
Dave the Diver also. Duff is a bit of a weeb, and anytime you upgrade something with Duff, there is a very anime-esque great.
I think Bobby likes anime.
Well, when I say
should
anime,
have added another category where we talk. I should have just kept every anime that Bobby explained, and we could have figured out which one he explained the best, or which one was his favorite.
I'll also cut Everspace too because it's very personal, but that is a fantastic song.
I can hear it in my head,
and it's just bump. Like you just like groove so hard to it.
Man.
It's a vibe.
I love View. I mean, I know. I'm glad we talked about them, but
yeah,
do we really think the Viewfinder or the Cocoon moments are going to be together too?
No, I'll get rid of the Viewfinder one.
Nor the elephant.
Yeah, elephant can go.
Mario Wonder.
What's the Venba one?
That's the one where you make the rocket.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I thought that because like there's a lot that happens there. I think that's when your character really starts to embrace a culture that they have been trying to avoid a bit. It's a very tender and very good moment.
Yeah, it's like the kind of compromise that's going on. Like the kid feels weird being different from his classmates, and he wants to be, like the white people, and she's trying to get him excited about their own cultures and their own cooking, and so when he's like, oh, I just want pizza. I think he says pizza. I was like, can we just get pizza?
Yep.
And she's like, what if we made a fucking rocket instead?
Yep.
He's like, what? and then they get to make the rocket style food, and he's very excited by it.
It was cool.
It's still a losing battle. He still kind of wants to get away from his culture, but for that one moment, that child was hooked on Indian culture.
All right, Johnny, tell him about We Sing.
Yeah, before we give it to Entering the Depths.
So this is a moment in Alan Wake where you are playing as Alan Wake, not a saga, and you keep coming back to this TV studio, the in-between place with Mr. Door. Mr. Door is a late night host, and the Old Gods of Asgard are a band, and Alan is trying to find his way out of the dark place. And in this
on
sequence,
like a talk show stage.
yes. And while he's in the studio, it's later on in the game. I think you are like climb down right from like a area up above a stage, and you are walking down some stairs, and this music kicks off, and it's this FMV of the guy that plays Alan Wake and Mr. Door and the band, and
the Old Guards of Asgard.
Casey, Cold Case Casey, singing this song. It's much like kind of like the Ashtray Maze in Control.
Oh, cool. Another game I didn't play.
Yes. No, it's
very helpful.
It's exactly the fucking song and choreography that you saw at the Game Awards, Chase.
Yeah. But they're guiding you through this level through the use of this song, and it has 3 different distinct phases talking about what's happening as you are in those moments in the game.
It's so good.
And they'll even like have little dances where they're pointing to show you like, hey, you need to go this way. And it's such a cool incorporation of FMV into gaming. I think that the work that they do with that stuff is so unique and sets them apart from other developers. It's probably my favorite moment in the entire game.
Yeah,
the game
easily.
I would hope so.
Full of memorable moments.
If there was a moment you like better in Alan Wake 2, we should be talking about that one instead.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad that was your favorite.
I've listened to that song so many fucking times. It's stuck in my head. I love that moment. I love that game.
Is it better than Zelda?
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I think that we should give it to Zelda.
Agreed.
Okay. I mean, it sounds cool. I have to admit, I kind of glazed over at the Game Awards when that was happening because I don't know anything about the game. It just all looked like weird, dumb shit to me. But in the context of the game, that sounds quite cool. Yeah.
Congratulations to the best moment, Entering the Depths and Tears of the Kingdom. A well-deserved one. Lots of good moments.
Threw Bobby a bone on one of these awards.
Thank you. Best debut. This is a category that we have long discussed here at the show, but this is about a game that's not a sequel or a new entry into an existing franchise. This category celebrates originality in gaming, which that's kind of interpretive, but anyway, gaming would be dominated by sequels and adaptations. We've got a handful to get through here. Against the Storm, Cassette Beast, Chance of Sonar.
Keep going.
Okay.
We were
Cocoon,
gonna keep going.
Dave the Diver, Dredge, Hi-Fi Rush, Humanity, Jusant, Leica, Age Through Blood, Lies of P, Nova Lands, Outpath, RoboQuest, Sea of Stars, Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, Showgunners, Subpar Pool, The Finals, Venba, Viewfinder, Warhammer, 40,000, Bolt Gun, which I thought was supposed to be off there.
Yep.
And Word Factory. All right.
A lot of cool things.
A lot of cool things. I will go ahead and cut a few things while we have Johnny away.
Sure.
I'm going to get rid of Nova Lands.
Stuff, right?
Yeah.
Johnny's picks.
Nova Lands is awesome. They're still adding some stuff into it.
For us to be able to cut it.
Yeah, that's true. Nova Lands is one that you checked out with me. It's the one where you build like the drones between things that help automate. Mm-hmm. It's cool, but it can go. And I just cut Nova Lands, Johnny. That's the only thing you missed.
Okay.
I'm gonna get. You're
tuck
good.
The kid into bed. Cool.
I'm gonna get rid of Word Factory also. I think Word Factory's
that was a cool thing.
It's a very cool game. Cool. It's very cool. I think that game is neat. You're making whole ass letters out of the letter I, which is a lot of fun, and you use the factory and automation to do that. Very short, very, very cool.
Reminded me a lot of like Bender from Futurama as you're like bending girders.
Oh
like
yeah.
we have to bend this I, make it an L, throw it out.
Oh yeah.
Please insert girder.
Yes.
We can
cut the finals. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. The finals is fucking awesome.
That's what I hear.
It's so much fun. But there is at least one of the game that I feel more strongly about on this list. But if you're listening and you like first-person shooters, and if you are a fan of older Battlefields, I really cannot recommend that game enough. It is so fun and it's free.
You guys played that on the most recent Casual Fridays?
No,
right?
we tried to.
Oh.
They were having some server issues.
And we just went back. We went back to risk our returns.
Terrible? We can.
Yeah. Well, that's because there were too many people trying to play. But
Is that not the problem with Payday?
Maybe, I don't know. That series is very popular.
Okay.
Anyway, Liza P. Bobby, you played more of that than I did, I think.
Yeah, I think this one. I mean, I'm not going to push for it to win, but they finally made something that's people will talk about in the same conversation as a Dark Souls game or Bloodborne, and there's been a lot of people trying to chase that clout, and from what I'm seeing from people who are very precious about that genre, Liza P has now become a name that is respected and able to be in the same conversation. So I think it's
wild to me in that game felt like a joke when.
Like the
people
Pinocchio,
looking at this going like, what the fuck? What's that doing?
What? Pinocchio?
Who's this little Pinocchio boy? Like this Timothy Chalamet looking motherfucker. We're supposed to believe him as Dark Souls protagonist. And then it came out.
Turns out,
I still think, Johnny, you got to play that. Like that.
I know.
It's something that you will like. I can also cut Showgunners here. Really strong debut for a game that kind of came out of nowhere for me. That's the game show-esque turn-based XCOM style. Really cool style, really cool execution.
Underneath it, I'm going to cut Subpar Pool. Subpar Pool, a neat idea. Looks really cool. Not going to beat the other games on here.
Yeah. Let's get rid of Outpath. This game's awesome. Single dev, did a really cool demo prologue you could download and then launch this thing by themselves this year. Beautiful game, really cool, strong, overwhelmingly positive reviews on it. Neat stuff for sure. It does a lot of things that you're familiar with in a survival game, but very cool nonetheless. Oh man.
Stuff. There's a lot of cool things on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of Shadow Gambit. It is in the same studio that has made Shadow Tactics and things of that nature. So it's not the exact same thing by any stretch, but there is a character from one of those games that they brought over as a pirate, like a dead pirate in this, which is fun, as DLC that just launched last week. But I'll get rid of it. It's very cool. Me shut down right after they put this game out for mental health reasons, and I just wanted to give them a lot of love for this. They did some really cool stuff.
I believe Dredge has Dave the Diver characters in, so we can probably just cut that one, right?
There's DLC with those two. I mean, I feel like I'm absolutely gonna have to do some heavy lifting here. I'm gonna get rid of probably one more before I start to ask you guys for some help here. I'm gonna get rid of Leica, Age Through Blood. I played this late in the year. It came out in October. It's made a very strong impression on me, and I think
it seems rad.
It's so fucking good, guys. This game rules so hard. I really would love for you to check it out. But just other stuff on here that I think has made a very big impact on the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest, just from my perspective, and I'm sure there are other worthy games on here, and we'll talk about them. I'm not saying they suck and we should cut them, but the ones I am gravitating towards are Chance, Cocoon, Jusant, and Venba, and Viewfinder. Those are just the ones that have been sticking with me quite a bit this year. I know Bobby really loves Dave the Diver, really loves Dredge. there's a ton of really fucking cool games on here.
I'm gonna get rid of Humanity and Cassette Beast really quick.
God, Humanity's so cool too.
It is.
So is Cassette Beast.
I'm gonna get rid of Sea of Stars.
Okay.
Because honestly, it is a prequel to The Messenger. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I'm the only one here.
Is it really, or did they? Okay, I didn't know if they said that at one point and then took it back in a what was the PUBG one that got taken back?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah. I have two horses. Well, no.
What's Against the Storm?
It is a roguelite city builder.
Okay.
And you are the city manager.
We streamed it one time on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's insanely cool.
It just hit 1.0 on the 8th, right?
I kind of remember.
Oh, it's on sale right now. But yeah, I picked it up earlier this year when it was in early access. But you pick a spot in this forest and you start building buildings, shelter, chopping down wood, stuff to build different crafts, and there's trading, and it's all the things that you would expect with a city builder base building strategy type game, with the caveat that you are running against a clock called the Queen's, I think it's like Queen's Ire or something like that, where the longer you play, the closer you get to running out of time. But there are things that you can do to, lower that bar down. Like your woodcutters will open up a grove, and certain groves are legendary, and they have events where certain conditions have to be met. And it usually gives you two options. You can either like salvage what's there, or send what you find to the queen to appease her, and it'll give you more time to do other stuff. And it just has a flow, and everything interconnects and meshes in a way. It works so perfectly. And this is a pretty small team, I think, but it's one of the coolest games I played this year, and I'm really happy that it hit 1.0.
Yeah,
before the
That's
year
awesome.
was out.
Like one of the things I was seeing here is that somebody was saying it's like Warhammer without the war part. Like it's like an RTS where you're building stuff up. It's almost like you're trying to do like the Zerg rush, except you're not rushing anybody because you're not attacking anyone. But
you're finding jobs for people in certain species who are more proficient at different tasks. So you have to figure out, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. I still need some builders left over to like build paths and build new buildings whenever I have stuff. And one of the things I absolutely love is they if you have to tear something down, you get all your resources back.
That's always nice.
And you can move any building. So if the supply that your trappers are harvesting runs out, you can just move it. And if you found another grove that has more stuff for you to harvest, we'll just move it over there, and you don't have to worry about reconstructing it. It is in just immaculately crafted game. And
I am adding it to my Steam wish list right now.
You should. It's
also on Game Pass too, Chase.
Oh yeah, it is on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can cut it. But
it's very cool. I
want to shout those guys out. That is Aramite Games.
Nice.
And yeah, just absolutely fantastic game.
I'm gonna get rid of RoboQuest.
I was gonna ask Bobby, should we?
Ooh, really? You love that game?
I do love that game.
It's awesome.
It's very cool. It had a hell of a thing. It came out of absolute nowhere for me. I didn't even know what it was. Johnny had it purchased and didn't even know he had it. So, but I had so much fun with that game.
I got a code for it last year.
Yeah.
From somewhere, and I never played it, and then it hit 1.0, and it became Bobby and I have co-opted that together several times.
I would be up for getting rid of.
I mean, at this point, I think Jusant, Venba, and Viewfinder are the ones I stump for hardest. I know Bobby's going to make a real hard push for Dredge, though, which I totally get.
I mean, Hi-Fi Rush and Dredge are kind of where I'm circling the waters right now. Does that mean
we're okay getting rid of Dave, Cocoon, and Chance?
I would get rid of those. Yeah.
Johnny, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of think I'd like to just talk about Hi-Fi Rush. I'm not ready to cut it because I think it could win this in a lot of ways, but
yeah,
that came from Tango Gameworks. They've made The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo. This thing debuted out of absolute nowhere. It was kept a secret. Like, I had no idea this was a thing that was coming out at all. They showed the trailer and launched it, and it had just a fucking skyrocket jump when it came out. It was so cool. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it also blended different things in a genre, like an arena fighter with a rhythm game, which I thought was really cool. I also
love such a style to it.
It has such a style.
Like, not only was it a surprise release, but they show the trailer and you go, "What the hell is that? And why can't I play it yet?" And they say, "You can play it. Play it right now."
I know.
It was a hell of a pitch.
And I think from a debut standpoint, it debuted in such a spectacular way. It debuted from a studio that has never done anything like this at all. And it debuted to critical reception as well. And I am not the biggest rhythm person. I think I probably like them more than both of you. Like, really, it was the Crypt of the Necrodancer and then Hyrule. Sure. Like, that's kind of what got me there with it. But I don't know, man. Like, that one was such a zeitgeist moment this year in gaming. Like, I felt everybody was calling it Game of the Year in January or whenever that was. And I didn't want to like it nearly as much as I did. And it came out so fucking strong in such a big way that it was a disruptor in a lot of, like, in genres and in delivery. And I think it's one of those things that you cannot see done without Game Pass also. Like, this was a Microsoft greenlit project for a small team at Bethesda.
Which, holy shit, did Microsoft need and still needs reasons for people to get on Game Pass? I mean, there's a lot of reasons to get on Game Pass, but are there a lot of reasons that you need an Xbox? And here's a game that is exclusive to Microsoft. A smaller thing for sure. It's not like a big tentpole thing like a God of War or something that Sony's putting out, but to have, like, this is a Microsoft game that you point to and go, this is a thing that you can only play on our stuff.
Yep.
Instead of just, hey, you can get the same game that you would have gotten on your PlayStation, but now you get it for your subscription thing as a part of Game Pass.
I'm going to cut Dredge. If we're cutting things, I'm going to cut Dredge for Hi-Fi Rush.
Okay.
I love Dredge. You all know how much I love that game. It's so fucking cool. But I also played that game on a Next Fest demo with you, Chase, and fell in love with it there and got super amped. And so the debut was that way for me, where, again, being critical here of just like debuting in a lot of ways, I think Hi-Fi Rush wins it for me.
I mean, in a similar in a show of that solidarity, I'm gonna cut Venba. Venba's hugely important to me. I had a great time with that game. It made me think a lot after I was finished playing it. I think Jusant and Viewfinder somehow even left a stronger impression on me. That's a real good 3. I don't even love Hi-Fi Rush all that much, but I respect it so much that I'm totally fine with it here.
Yeah. Johnny, you've not really played Viewfinder, if I'm not mistaken. You've played an hour at Jusant.
All 3 of these games.
Okay, all right.
Wow. How do you feel about these games?
Hi-Fi Rush is really cool.
Man. Yeah, you're right. Jusant and Viewfinder aren't very cool.
They're not. They fucking suck. Man, I think just in terms of sheer, I really have never played anything like this before. I'm leaning towards Viewfinder. And the other 2, Jusant is beautiful. It's very visually striking. Hi-Fi Rush also, like, it just oozes like so much attitude, and it's so fun. I can't pick. I don't know.
So
Which
I generally think that this is a bad argument that I'm about to make. But when we get down to tough decisions like this, um, we've given an award to Jusant. Jusant has gotten its flowers
That's
from
fair.
us. These other two games, very fantastic games. This would be a great time to spread the love a little bit. Because we're having such a hard decision with this, I think that's very unfair to Jusant. Somebody could come back and go like, that sucks. You love Jusant. You should put Jusant here. And I'm like, that's a great argument, but also I want us to end the podcast someday. I think we can cut Jusant in that.
Okay, so it's down to Viewfinder and it's down to Hi-Fi Rush then.
Yeah, I tend to lean Viewfinder.
Yeah, it sounds like you and Johnny do, and I can respect that. I have nothing against Viewfinder. I think it's a fantastic video game.
I think that is just the direction I am leaning right now.
That's fine. Yeah, like look,
I played a ton of these kinds of games, like the Portals. I played Superliminal, and like there's a lot of these kinds of games, the Portal clones. And this one, when you kind of start it, you're like, oh yeah, I've played these before. But there were a bunch of amazing ideas I found as I was playing through Viewfinder that made me feel a different way than when I'm playing Cube or whatever, the QUBE.
I still think Tango Softworks deserves a huge round of applause for Hi-Fi Rush, but also
just completely outside their wheelhouse.
Well, not only that, but like the fact that this game in 2023 was able to come out and surprise people is like this game, like the fact that there was no leaks.
Not get leaked.
Yeah, like there's a lot to be celebrated there with it, and it is one of the best games I played this year by country mile. I had a great time with it.
I don't know if it's going to win that category either, but I see that it's not on here, so I'm going to add Hi-Fi Rush to the overachiever of the year.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think the argument you're making for it is the argument that makes more sense down here. Not that it doesn't deserve to be in both categories, but Hi-Fi Rush should certainly be mentioned when we're talking about overachievers. So we'll get to that one.
All right.
So congrats to Viewfinder, hell of a thing. We are now getting into a category that we've called different things in the past, but we are going to stick with the I wish I liked it more. And we watched the trailers, we read the reviews. We may have even bought and played the game ourselves, but at the end of the day, these games just didn't click with us, even though we really thought they would have. And I cannot think a better person to read it than Chase Kinnicky, because Chase doesn't like anything. And I think that we should. I think that we should have Chase celebrate.
I think you'll find that I like Viewfinder
sponsored
quite
by
a bit.
Sponsored by Chase.
Yeah. So to say, this has been different kinds of categories before.
And I'm gonna get a refill while you read through these. I'll be right back.
Go for it. Fuck all of Bobby's games.
You can fuck all those games.
We've called this like worst game before, or
it's had meaner titles.
It was meaner, and I'm not. This is not to say that these games are bad. Some of these games are pretty decent, but the idea here is that they weren't our kinds of games. Or hey, we wish we liked it more. It's the name of the fucking category. And I think that's better than just completely shitting on a video game. I know we kind of just did that with Technically Terrible, but that was shitting on it in a very specific manner. Whereas I wish I liked it more is more about we're still kind of trying to be positive, but man, these games didn't quite live up. And the real problem with this one, as most categories are, we're three different people and we have different feelings on these games. There might be some games here that people think are really good. So we'll have to have that conversation about what we feel like. But to get through the list, because I don't want Bobby to get back here and go, you haven't even read off a fucking name yet. I'm also just stalling to hope to see that happens, but I guess it's not going to happen. The ones are Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, AEW Fight Forever, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Black Skylands, Dave the Diver, Diablo 4, EA Sports PGA Tour 2023, Exoprimal, Final Fantasy 16, Fire Emblem Engage, Forspoken. Is that how you spell Forspoken? It doesn't have the E there, right?
I don't think it does.
I think that's right, yeah. Hi-Fi Rush, Land Above, Sea Below, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Minecraft Legends, Octopath Traveler 2, Persona 5 Tactica, Redfall, Sea of Stars, Starfield, and Subpar Pool. I put Hi-Fi Rush here.
I know you did.
And if you've heard what we talked about, what you did?
No, I said I know you did.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's pretty obvious. I'm gonna cut it. I'm the only one that doesn't love it, and even I think it's pretty cool. So I think it's actually really good for this category. In that instance, is that like I truly do wish I liked it more, because I think there's so many cool things about it. But
the rhythm game, I'm so bad at rhythm games.
Yeah,
I had such a hard time sticking with it.
I wish I was better at rhythm games, and I would have a much better time with it. But I'm not, and so I didn't. So
what did I miss? What did we get rid of?
I cut Hi-Fi Rush because I'm the only one who had the issue, and I'm trying to say I don't even really have an issue with it. I just I wish I liked it more. I really do. I swear.
I'm gonna get rid of Black Skylands.
Okay.
Man, that game should have been great, right?
Yep.
We looked at that game, it was like that game looks great, and then you kind of came back and said,
Yeah.
Bobby, what about Starfield?
I didn't put it on here.
I put it on here.
Oh.
What?
Why?
I want to like Starfield.
Why? You hate Bethesda on record more than anybody else on this show.
I know.
You're not gonna. You don't get to flip now because it's the cool thing for you to be the guy that likes something. You don't get to be that asshole. I'm cutting it. It's gone.
It certainly could be my contrarian manner.
Fuck Bethesda and fuck you for wanting to like them.
I don't know. It does sound. Broken things sound kind of interesting. I don't know. Yeah,
it's not even broken in a fun way.
No,
cut is fine. Should Redfall be cut?
Yes, I didn't want to like Well, I did want to like Redfall.
I like Arcane.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
there's a huge gulf between.
What is this category?
This category is it. Well, hang on a second. Where'd it go? Fire Emblem. It's Fire Emblem Engage.
Sure.
Oh,
I wish I liked it more than anything on here.
I liked parts of Fire Emblem Engage. I played a lot.
That game sucks, man.
That game does not suck.
It sucks so fucking bad.
I have 80 hours that can tell you it doesn't suck. But I agree that even I wish I liked it more, in that there are some things that I think could be
coming off of 3 Houses, and this is the best they can do for their 30th anniversary. Fucking terrible. I wanted to like this game so bad.
What are your problems with the game exactly?
The writing is awful.
Sure.
I think that the characters they created for this game are awful. I think you and the red and blue hair shit is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't
the Aqua Fresh hair?
Yes.
I don't like Alira at all.
It's like, look, no offense to a VTuber, but it's just like pandering to that crowd.
I wasn't the biggest fan of 3 Houses art style either.
Fair.
Coming off of Echoes, which I think is the best art style I've maybe ever seen in a video game. But I agree that the VTuber style was a little rough for me on some of the characters. I really genuinely like some of the characters. We mentioned Lapis and best character that I put up there. But they are two-dimensional, very, very two-dimensional.
I would like to like them more. I really wanted to like this game so much.
I like the structure of the game quite a bit. Like it goes back to an older style of Fire Emblem game where you have to kind of gradually get characters, rather than 3 Houses where it's just like, here's your students. Those are your guys. That's your team. And
I think for me, it's not like, I still have some very positive feelings about specifically the combat in that game. And I just kind of skipped through everything else because it drove me fucking crazy.
I mean, if that's the winner here, I'm fine with it, because I agree. I do wish I liked it more. I still had a good time with that video game. I'll tell you, it's still going to be high on my top 10, but I
think the only other one that
a Fire Emblem game that's not number one on my top 10 every year is a disappointment.
I think it's this and Diablo.
I think it is this and Diablo, and here's the reason why. Like, I'm leaning more towards Final Fantasy, or sorry, not Final Fantasy, but to Fire Emblem. I wish I liked Final Fantasy better too, though. I think that the further I've gotten away from not enjoying Diablo 4, the more I'm content not ever liking that game again. And I want Diablo to be good. I loved my time with 3 when I came to it later on.
the mobile one you loved.
I liked Immortal quite a bit too, and I put a shit ton of time into multiple betas of Diablo 4 to have it become a thing I fucking loathed playing. I said audibly to myself, by myself, this is not fun. And it continued to be that, and they've since, I mean, I bought the early access high-end version of this.
We both did.
Didn't touch the battle pass on it. It launched in a state. So like for me, I could easily see Diablo 4 winning this because of how much time I put on it. But if you're asking me right now, I really, really wanted to like Fire Emblem. Probably, I liked Diablo at least at some point, and I think Diablo is a far worse game than Fire Emblem. But I just, I'll go either way with you on that. Like,
all right, let's give it to Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Because I genuinely, I do want to like it more.
Yeah, this is gonna sound weird coming from me. I wanted to like Exoprimal. Hey, Capcom's putting out Capcom. They don't fucking miss these days.
Mm-hmm.
And a game with dinosaurs, like Dino Crisis, like Capcom's old thing. And they're like, well, it's not like Dino Crisis. I'm like, oh, okay, but it's Capcom and dinosaurs and cool shooty shit. That'll be fun. And we played it that one night, and I did not have a lot of fun. And I think we all uninstalled it very quickly after.
Yeah, I think after that stream we did. Yeah. It was very, very mid for Capcom.
As the Zoomers say.
As the Zoomers would say. That gets us down to, so again, I sincerely, I'm not saying this to be a dick. I really want to like Fire Emblem more. I do.
Yeah. And again, as a person who actually does really like that Fire Emblem game, I still do wish I liked it more. There's a lot of problems I still have with it.
That brings us to Overachiever of the Year. Chase, why don't you, before I read through this, can you break down like what it means to be the Overachiever of the Year?
Yeah, we used to call this Best Surprise, and in that sense, we kind of talked about it as like a game that kind of came out of nowhere and blew us away, or a game we thought was going to be bad because of trailers and shit, and we were like, oh, that's fucking terrible, and then it came out, we thought it was good, but then we found that to be a little limiting. Of, there are games that we thought were going to be okay or thought we would even like, but then they completely overachieved. They completely went beyond the expectations that we had for them, and so we've broadened this category out. It's a little unfair because our interpretations of what's an overachiever are different from each other, but I think it's still, this is kind of our way of celebrating a game that did more than we thought it could. The description we have here is what game surpassed its expectations the most. Maybe it's a game that flew under the radar but then took the world by storm. Maybe it's a fantastic sequel to a mediocre debut. Maybe it's a game we thought we'd enjoy but ended up putting hundreds of hours into it. There's one game specifically I can think of like that. The criteria is a little fuzzy. We know it when we see it. So Bobby, why don't you get on this list and we'll talk about what we think works here.
We have Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Baldur's Gate 3, Chants of Sinar, Dave the Diver, Hi-Fi Rush, Jusant, Lego Fortnite, Lies of P, Remnant 2, RoboQuest, Shadow Gambit The Cursed Crew, Showgunners, Street Fighter 6, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Viewfinder.
So I think we should cut Street Fighter 6. Like Street Fighter 4 was good. We know that. We know it was good. Street Fighter 5 was not so great, but we know about it.
He's going to murder you.
We should leave this game on. Bobby, why? Why is Zelda on here? Why are you giving me an aneurysm?
Because I am on record stating that I think that Breath of the Wild is a great game, but it was not a fantastic Zelda game. And I also think that leading up to this game coming out, you can go very online and see how many people were saying it's just DLC for Breath of the Wild. And it started off that way. And they even said that, and they said, we think we have some ideas to make it more into a full-fledged thing. And in a period in a season where that's been tried and failed, I think Tears of the Kingdom coming out and somehow beating out Breath of the Wild, which is considered to be the greatest video game of all time.
Sure.
And to have Tears of the Kingdom come out and somehow do that again and be better for folks is overachieving in one of the biggest triumphant ways. Like, you don't really break your personal world record too often when you set it.
Yeah.
And so I think for Nintendo to come out on the same console, mind you, and do all that stuff again this late into the cycle is pretty fucking phenomenal and overachieving to me. And that's why I put it on here.
I respect that answer, and yet I still find it wild.
I think it overachieved a lot in Nintendo fanboy eyes, certainly in the industry eyes.
Yeah,
but do I think it's the biggest one of the year? No. So it's getting cut.
Yeah.
But that's why I put it on there.
Okay.
I'm going to get rid of Showgunners. I'm going to clean up a few of these really quick. I'm going to get rid of
I'm going to cut Viewfinder.
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned it before, but like we've seen a lot of Portal clones before.
Yep.
And so going in, I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of know what this is, and it ended up being one of my favorite games of the year. So it was a surprise to me. It certainly overachieved in that manner, but also looking at the trailers and seeing the camera stuff in the trailers kind of got me like, oh, this looks really cool. So average it out in a way, it kind of comes out in the wash.
I'm going to cut out Shadow Gambit. While that was an overachiever for me because I haven't played anything, people who are a fan of that studio and that genre, that game was going to be a slam dunk for them. So I'm going to cut that one out. I don't think it wins here, but I do want to highlight Remnant 2 just doing a fucking gigantic frog leap over the predecessor that came before it into something that a shit ton of people really went to, more than the first game ever, and they made a phenomenal product there.
Was Remnant 1 really not that liked? I don't remember.
It was like more like kind of it did not get spoken of into the avenues and places that I've heard Remnant 2 get spoken into this year. But yeah, it had a following, very cultish for sure.
I've heard some of the Destiny YouTubers that I watch even like start to talk about that game in a way, which I think is more probably due to Bungie and Destiny in general being weird. But you do catch from time to time the Destiny YouTube streamers going like, what if I went to Diablo content, and then Diablo content really didn't do it for them, so they had to come back and like, what about Remnant 2? And it turned out a lot of people really like Remnant 2.
Yeah,
so that seems
it's quite good.
I'm going to cut Avatar, even though it probably is lifting the heaviest here, considering that I had like a negative desire to check this thing out.
I don't think any game on this list was lower from the get-go.
I know, but I got to tell you, I'm having a hard time finding things to be upset with in Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora.
I just fucking do not care.
I do not like Avatar the movie. I think they suck, but this game is really fucking cool. It's wild. I don't think. I mean, look.
Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, obviously, it has overachieved what some people's expectations.
Dude, I think that's one of the most under.
It's a unicorn.
It is a unicorn, 100%. Like, I think that has overachieved more than most things on here to become the game,
very much,
and to become like the game of the year, like through a lot of people's eyes. If you would have told me when we started playing early access in 2020 that would be as high up as it is, and I would say, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
The only counter, and I'm not saying this disqualifies it, but the only counter I can think of is this game has been in early access for a very long time. People have gotten their hands on this game and knew they were going to enjoy 1.0 when it came out. Yeah. And then 1.0 came out and people liked it. So in that instance, for me, it didn't feel like a surprise. The reaction it's gotten since 1.0, absolutely a surprise.
The way it's broken through.
Yeah. To your point, like a game that this is a Baldur's Gate 3 to a game that many of its players have never played Baldur's Gates 1 and or 2. And for it to come out and not only be financially successful, not only to be critically successful, but to be the game of the fucking year for the Game Awards, the quote unquote Oscars of video games. They're fucking
very prestigious.
But yeah, absolutely, that is a hell of an achievement.
Yep, agreed. Big time agreed.
I would cut Chance here. I put Chance on here because in our monthly preview,
we thought it looked kind of dumb.
I mean, it was. We mentioned it. It's like it's fucking changing water levels. Like, that's boring as fuck. We've seen that shit so many times, And yes, it's got a striking art style, but what do you actually fucking do in the game?
Yep.
And then you picked it up and gave it a shot and went, Chase, you need to try this.
Check that out.
I played it and I went, God damn it, it's really good.
Yep.
So in that instance, absolutely a great representation of what this category should be. But I don't know if it's the winner compared to.
I'm gonna get rid of RoboQuest for the same thing. Like that game came out of nowhere for me, blew me away. I loved it so much, but I have not and probably will never play the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I figured that was coming. So this one, to me, it's a visual. Hey, we made a visual novel of Sonic the Hedgehog, and right away you're going to turn off 90% of your audience, if not 99% of your audience. And it felt like this cast off little joke thing. Did it even come out on April? When did it come out? It might have come out around April Fool's.
It was around April's Fool.
March 31st.
Yeah, exactly. So this idea of, hey, we did a dumb little thing, go try it. And like, oh, this is gonna be shit, but I don't know, it's free, let's give it a shot. And it ended up just being a really well written, fun little sequence. It's not gonna blow your mind, but as a fun little bonus that I believe I think the story is that the Sonic team social media, or like the people who run like the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account, and it was like a very socially community driven thing. Of, we brought this idea to Sega, they let us play around and just was like, hey, yeah, go try it, why not? And it turned out to be this pretty successful thing that ended up being really cool.
It blew up for sure.
It's almost 20,000 reviews on Steam.
It's a real neat thing. Does it win this category? No, but I think for me it was probably the thing that surprised me the most, of the lowest of low expectations, and coming out of it going, that was cool, that was fun.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, I'll cut it.
Here's my question: is there any way that we don't say it was Street Fighter 6 here?
I mean, there's two people who would say that it probably isn't, but there's one person who I think shines above all.
It's extremely personal.
Give me the hour count. Give me the hour count, Johnny.
Let's see. Well, I played more while I did my cardio workout today on the PlayStation.
Did you eclipse my Destiny hour count
this year? Yes.
I'm probably at like 220 hours.
Okay, I did 250.
The game's so nice he bought it twice this year.
So I think actually by that logic, overachiever of the year. Congratulations, Destiny 2.
All right,
overachieving yet again.
I think you can make a really strong case for Baldur's Gate 3. We know it's gotten praise from us in other categories here. Two things already, with best new character better together. We love that game. It's certainly sweeping our awards, but I think watching what Street Fighter 6 did to you and to a lot of people who was kind of
still doing to me.
Yeah, like even outside of the Johnny argument, which is a strong argument because it's our fucking podcast, it's our awards. But for Street Fighter 5, when that you gotta go back. Street Fighter 4 was this kind of out of nowhere, holy shit, we brought Street Fighter back.
Fighting games are back.
Fighting games are back. It led to a complete resurgence. Evo became a big thing again, based on that.
And then 5 came out.
5 came out
broken
and was terrible. Didn't have a story mode. It was missing so many things out of it, and people were really not happy about it. And it took a long time of them coming out with new versions and adding new characters and balance patches and fixing things and putting a fucking story mode in it, for people to go, okay, this game's at a good spot now. And then 6 comes out, and I think there was a lot of worry that, is this going to be a 5 thing again? Are we going to be trapped again where we have to bear with this shit game until it gets good enough, until it gets enough patches that we can play it competitively again?
And then they put out one of the greatest games ever made. It's insane.
It's totally electrified the fighting game community. It makes me excited about watching Evo to see these new styles and characters and things like that. I don't want to play it. I don't.
After Yeah,
but I do
after
want
a
to watch it.
lifetime of wishing that I could get into fighting games and be good at them, I got into a fighting game, and I'm pretty fucking good at Street Fighter, guys. They introduced a control scheme that makes much more sense to my Smash Brothers brain, and turns out, like, when I don't have to think about the 6-button layout, I can do some real bad stuff. And I went from just terrible, obviously, when I first started it and was playing against friends, to now, like, one of my friends I play against, I can beat them at least half the time now.
That's what
And
you want, right? Like you don't want to be stomped, you don't want to stomp, but like when you get that 50-ish% win rate,
yeah,
like you get good games out of it.
And it's every time I pick it up, it feels so good. It's I
think that we give it to Johnny for sure.
I love it.
Yeah. I think it's a totally worthy thing here outside of Johnny, but especially.
So how many times have I said I'm going to think about buying this fighting game, and then
I would probably be more excited about this game if I could have played it, but anytime I tried to play it, you kicked me off of it. So, like, and I refused to pay for Street Fighter. So, thanks, Johnny.
There we are. You're welcome.
All right, congrats to Street Fighter for being the Overachiever of the Year. Give us back our Johnny. That brings us to a new category here called Bobby's Virtual Insanity. I'm an idiot, and I got back into VR for some strange reason. And I got to tell you that their Power Wash Simulator in VR is one of the coolest things I've been able to relax to this year. And if you happen to have a MetaQuest 2 or MetaQuest 3, check it out. It is one of the coolest ways to play that game, and I have cleaned up the entire neighborhood while checking out podcasts. And
I get YouTube pre-roll ads of that, of just the Power Wash VR, and every time I see it, I'm like, I don't like VR, but that looks pretty good.
It's very good. I'm having a great time with it. So there's a bunch of other cool shit I've played this year on that so far, and Xbox Game Pass just came to the MetaQuest today, so I can actually have all those games just on a giant screen, wearing that headset with my Xbox controller on the couch, and it's really fucking cool to have that there.
Is Super Hot VR in that?
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to have any cables. You just put it on and go into a room, and you are good to go.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Maybe
it's very good.
Over to your house someday, and
I'll bring it over when we do our holiday stuff this year.
Yeah, we might have to do that. I want to play more Super Hot VR.
You've probably heard this next
Power Wash.
Yeah, I've got a really cool mech game for you, Chase.
Okay, I like cool.
You actually honk the horn like a semi truck inside of a mech with your.
Okay,
it's very
perfect.
Good.
Great.
Touchy Feely, a game that we've maybe talked about having, the game that got us through a bad year, or a game for impact, game that made us feel the most. We've called it a bunch of the other things, but Touchy Feely is our loving term for this category. What game made us emotional this year? Well, sad, happy, frustrated. There's a lot of emotions, but we typically focus on the ones that warm our hearts. What game had a message to communicate? What game was a capital E experience that shouldn't be missed? And we've got 4 games that we would like to talk about tonight: Vinba, Chants of Sonar, Viewfinder, and Jusant. I personally feel there's a very strong standout in this group already, but I think there's a lot of stories to be told with the other ones.
Congratulations to Vinba.
It's Vinba. It's absolutely Vinba.
It's
absolutely Vinba.
I mean, hey, Chance, I think there's something really cool about this idea, this like Tower of Babel kind of allegory, this idea of bringing language together and what people can do when they are able to communicate with each other. Viewfinder, it's more of like what the ending is, but it's kind of a game about
loss,
about climate change stuff and about ecology. But it's wrapped up in some philosophy kind of stuff as well. That's pretty well written. I think it's good. And Jusant, also kind of a climate-y game that I think has some really great moments. I think there's a lot of really great writing in the like diary entries and things that you pick up and read. But like I've mentioned before, Venba just made me feel
it's such an awesome story.
Calling my mom.
Yep. But it also brought more every time. like understanding for things that we probably all witnessed in some capacity in our small ass hometowns, and just
Sure.
like exclusion and, being three white dudes. I think that we've made it, pretty easy where we can fit in and understand and like find folks that look like us and think like us.
Yeah.
And I think, finding your place, especially if you are being up in mixed cultures, is really cool to see some representation there, and just got to peek in and understood like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah. Like my high school had maybe 5, and this a high school of, let's say, 400 kids. Again, we're
Mhm.
pretty small, but I think a total of like 5 non-white kids
Mhm.
in the entire high school. So very very homogenous, and then
Yep.
going to the University of Missouri and having much more diversity available to you
Yeah.
was a big eye opener. But a game like Venba, I think, does open you up to a new culture, a new way of thinking,
Yeah.
um,
Totally.
in ways that I would like to think I'm more open and thinking about diversity and caring about that kind of stuff today. um and Venba even further was like, yeah, like, open up your mind even further, and let's see how other people live. And I thought it was just a really really affecting game, and certainly deserving to win this category.
Totally. This next category we got, congratulations to Vin, but first and foremost, we really loved everything about you. We are going to be breaking down our 4 favorite screenshots of the year. I'm going to be able to show them here. If you're an audio listener, go check out our Twitter page or social media on Instagram. But for those of you watching us right now, we're going to turn our cameras off and just put these images pretty much full screen here. So give me 1 second to get us over to that monthly preview page, and we will get rid of that. What is going on? Why is that being weird? Screenshots. We'll turn that on. There we go. All right. So we've got 4 for each of us. I think mine are going to be up first here. So if you're watching this for the 2 of you, actually, I can just show it right here since our cameras are covered up.
Sure, that works too.
Let me grab this for y'all here. There we go. So this first one I have here is from Dredge, and this, again, spoilers, but this is the end of the game. Though the bad ending of the game, but I thought it was fucking awesome.
That is some eldritch horror shit
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, it's very fucking good, and that game rules.
What's on your boat there? Like, what's the
That
little
is
guy?
the soul and spirit of your wife.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, very fucking cool. And you basically are in a position here where you're having to choose to have her resurrected, and to do so, you've brought this out, and it's not good. The next one, again, one of my favorite games of the year, with Hi-Fi Rush. Such a fucking good moment, and I know Chase is probably very anime, but it was
Absolutely
very fucking cool. You blast the arm off of this thing in such a cool way. It was awesome.
you should watch Gurren Lagann.
Okay.
It's basically just this every episode.
All right. And then as we talked,
you know what he does? He does love anime.
As we talked about, here is the Battle of Dragendorf as you ride atop the dragon going to fight. And it was such an awesome moment. It was so fucking good. And then lastly, your boy, my boy,
hello,
Turgle, just popping up at the bar, hanging out, talking to me about saving his ass from getting stomped. Turgle's a good boy, and we must protect him at all costs.
Yeah.
Chase, you want to talk about this one?
I'd be dead. Yes, this is my first one. This is from a very muddy looking game called Armored Core 6.
It is a muddy game.
This ain't muddy though. This is pretty fucking clean right here.
Mud don't move, baby.
This is relatively early in the game. I think the light and shadows that they've got on some of these things, and some of the skyboxes and vistas are really cool. Looking at it, that mech design is terrible, but it certainly does look good. So I'm a big fan. Man, what a cool looking game. Speaking of cool looking games, this is Chants of Sonar. This is just kind of like a small area you can walk to, like this little balcony, and there's not really much of a reason to come out here, but it is just so pretty, and in a game that has a ton of pretty vistas, this was the prettiest. This is from the very first area of the game, so not very spoilery at all. But holy shit, get used to looking at cool scenes like this all game long.
Yep.
So Destiny 2, it's a brand new video game. Certainly didn't come out in 2017 or anything. This is here because this was the day Lance Reddick died, and you had a lot of people show up to Destiny, and I was seeing some of this stuff on Twitter, and I decided to go check it out myself. Where you had a lot of people who were standing in the middle there. You can see Commander Zavala, and you had a lot of Destiny, especially people who play as the Titan class, because Zavala is the Vanguard leader of the Titans. You had a lot of Titans who were showing up and doing emotes of trying to give reverence to Lance Reddick and thank him through Commander Zavala. And it was a cool moment, and it's kind of a dumb, weird thing of doing it through a video game, but there was like a meaningful kind of tribute to it that felt important, even if it's a silly video game thing. And man, that guy will be missed. He did some great work, not just on Destiny, but on many other games, TV shows, movies.
Solid dude.
Yeah, really, really solid. And then this last one's from Jusant. I really liked this. I think you were able to take a lot of cool photos in Jusant. I wish the game had a more dedicated photo mode. It does try to keep your character in the middle of the screen whenever possible, which is a bummer if you care about the rule of thirds. But this was one shot I got that I just really liked. It's kind of hard to get good shots in this game because you kind of want to look out, but because it's a game that's so vertically made, you don't. When you look out, you just see a bunch of blank sky. So this was a shot I really liked, and I really like this the little collectible of doing the rock puzzles.
Oh yeah,
finding these rock puzzles in different places. So I just really like that area.
Johnny, you're up.
This is from Cyberpunk. I was just walking around Night City, and I saw this NPC walking past. This is a billboard, like an LED billboard, and she's carrying this translucent umbrella, and I couldn't stop taking pictures. It was just the way that it was filtering through her really umbrella, cool. And her side-eyeing me a little bit.
Oh yeah, she's noticing you. Like, what the fuck are you taking my photo for?
I don't know. Like, it was just I took a bunch of pictures of her, and that was my favorite.
Nice.
This is from Everspace.
Yeah, baby.
I'm pretty sure I blew up whatever is exploding in the background there, and I'm making my getaway.
Looking good.
Everspace, incredibly, like, you take screenshots of that thing all day long.
It's such a cool game.
It's so good. This is when I got to gold with Zangief in Street Fighter 6, and it was just, I was so psyched. I couldn't believe that I got to that high of a tier in a fighting game, and it's just one of my favorite moments from this year.
Hell yeah.
This is our best boy Kelvin.
Oh, who's this gentleman?
This is Kelvin carrying, wasn't that a boombox or something?
Yeah, sure was.
Boombox, wearing his tuxedo, dressed in his Sunday best. He's got his Kelvin name tag on still. He's just the best boy. He's a simple boy. He catches fish for us.
He's very good. Next year, look out, best new character, because you got some competition. You got some competition. Cool. Let me stop.
Did you name him Kelvin, or
no? That's his name.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his name. That's what you call him. He's the dude.
Sure.
But yeah, some cool stuff. We'll put those up on our social if you're listening to this live. But that brings us also, speaking of Kelvin, I'd like to congratulate our winner of Sons of the Forest for best early access.
Oh, sorry. Did we need to decide our favorite photo?
Are we doing a favorite photo this year? Or we just putting them all out?
We don't have to. I know we picked the van one before, but that was more.
It was a Jesus fan. You kind of had to.
It was pretty good.
But no, we'll just throw those up on our social.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And then we get to impressive early access. We nominated Driftwood, Inkbound, Lethal Company, Sons of the Forest, Starship Troopers Extermination, Tape to Tape, and Thronefall. Some really cool stuff to look forward to in the years to come. But Sons of the Forest is one that I have sunk the most time into. They have put out update after update after update. They've kept a very open dialogue with the community. They've made changes alongside the community. They've put out like, hey, here's our roadmap. They've stuck to it. This game hits 1.0 in February. They've done a very good job of running it, adding in dungeons, new weapons, characters, narrative elements. But even when it launched in early access, it did not feel like an early access game. It was very solid.
So good.
Anything on here that you, Johnny, because you played most of the stuff on PC with me, that you would push?
I was going to ask you if anything but Sons in the Forest was
I mean, Lethal Company has made a strong entry at the end of the year here.
But I think overall,
yeah,
just given how much time we were able to spend with Sons
of the Forest, for sure.
I think it takes the category.
And if you can believe it,
I barely knew what any of those games were.
We're going to change it next year.
Yeah. I did know what Sons of the Forest was, though.
Hell yeah.
Based on things that I've seen.
We're getting it. We got through our categories. We want to congratulate them really quick. Technically terrible. Well, the day before. No congratulations to you, you assholes. Best moment or sequence is Entering the Depths and the Tears of the Kingdom. That was so cool. Best debut, Viewfinder. Hell of a thing. Genre bending. Very, very cool stuff. I wished I liked it more, Fire Emblem Engage, because I think that they are doing cool shit. I want to play that game. I'm just having a hard time with this one. Overachiever of the Year, Street Fighter 6. Johnny has the hour count to prove it, but a lot of people have found passion in a dying series and brought it back, and I think that's really cool. Touchy Feely, we went with Vimba. I said that Power Wash Simulator was a fantastic VR game. We talked about our 4 screenshots, and we celebrated Sons of the Forest in their early access run. And it would be a miss if we did not think about what was ahead of us in the coming months to check out and be excited for. And I would love for Johnny to tell us his most anticipated game of 2024.
Is it any surprise that it is Final Fantasy?
Yeah, because it's not Street Fighter 7. That's why it's a surprise.
Yeah. Well, that game is not coming out in 2024.
That's true. It's Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth with a bullet. I'm so excited.
You don't have that much farther to wait.
I know.
Yeah. Soon.
Well, I am excited for a game called Dungeons of Hinterberg. And if you have not seen this, it looks beautiful. It is a Zelda-like in the spirit of a hi-fi rush set in the Alps. And it looks so fucking badass. Like, watch that trailer and tell me you're not hyped about it. And it's going to be on Game Pass next year when it launches.
I'm going to watch that trailer as soon as we're done recording.
Chase, what about you? What has you excited for next year?
Well, I mean, I think the real answer for me is also Final Fantasy VII. But already knowing that Johnny was going to pick that, because obviously he was, I decided to go slightly different, and I went with Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which, to be fair, I helped kickstart, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But hey, the makers of Suikoden are making a new Suikoden, and it's got a guy who's a shark.
He's a shark?
Cool. Yeah, he's a shark man.
Cool.
That game seems really good. It seems like they're pulling it together. It's supposed to come out next year. I'm really excited for it. So,
hell yeah!
I do Chronicles 100 Heroes.
That will do it for day 2 of our casual categories. If you've made it this far, please come back Friday night, where we will be presenting our personal top 10 list, and then we will come together and tell you about our top 10 for the casual hour. No quick looks this week, as you can see. Go back and listen to Monday's episode, and I have the wrong schedule on here, but no quick looks this week, and just know that we're going to be chatting about more video games and Game of the Year formatting on Friday night. If you want to follow along with all of our fun stuff, Chase, what do you have going on that they can listen to as well?
Sure. Well, first you can read. You can read my articles for my backlog roulettes. You can find that at gamersonthego.com. I've got one more left to complete my 12-month service. So you'll be seeing that probably at the end of the year or the beginning of next year, probably more likely. But if you want to see something, I think I mentioned it on the Monday podcast, but I looked and it actually came out today. In fact, forgot to post. It posted. I forgot to post about it when it did post. But my playthrough of Pokemon Stadium, it's called Stadium Brats, where I'm using only rental Pokemon. That newest episode went out today as we're recording this on Wednesday. So you can go watch that now. And Johnny, I think we're going to try to nail him down and get him on the next episode, which I'm not 100% sure when we're recording that, but when we do, that should go up pretty soon after. That's been fun. That's a really good series that's been really fun to do.
Nice. Well, thank you, too, for making this another fun-filled Game of the Year casual categories. It's my favorite stuff that we do. And we will be back live Friday to give you our top 10. Thanks for watching.